Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here this morning. We're going to try to get through this really quick. Good morning, Governor Baker. Thank you for being here this morning. It's a real honor and a pleasure to have you in Everett. You're no stranger to me or our city, and we appreciate all your support and love to our community. So thank you. Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, Secretary Keneally. Him and I had actually a great day this morning. We toured the city of Everett. Great opportunities, and thank you, Secretary Keneally. With Ashley Stobel, the Undersecretary of Community Development. Thank you, Ashley, for being here with us on a tour this morning. State Senator Sal DiDomenico. Thank you, Senator. Representative McGonigal, who both were very instrumental in bringing the neighborhood developers to the city of Everett. It was actually their relationship with the neighborhood developers is why we're here today. So thank you both to you two fine gentlemen. Steve Laferriere of the neighborhood developers. Steve, thank you for being here this morning. Crystal Cornegie of Mass Housing and Commonwealth Building. Thank you for all your support. Dan Rivera of Mass Development. Dan, thank you for being here this morning, and thank you for your support and your tremendous service to our Commonwealth and the residents of Lawrence for so many years. Thank you, Dan, for being here this morning. Manny Lopes of East Boston Neighborhood Health Center. Manny, thank you. Thank you for your friendship and your undying care and love to our community during the pandemic, helping us vaccinate our residents. Thank you very much, Dan, Manny, for that. And elected officials this morning, we have Councilwoman Stephanie Martins, Councilman Michael McLaughlin, Councilman Anthony DePiero, Councilwoman Rosa DeFlorio, and I believe that's it for elected officials. And I want to thank you all for being here this morning and taking time out of your busy work schedules for being here. Today we stand here at the site of the former St. Therese's Church. St. Therese's was a well-known and established Catholic church in our community. When the church closed its doors, we made the decision to repurpose this community gathering place to continue to serve the needs of our community. The City of Everett has proudly partnered with the neighborhood developers to construct a development that will boast affordable senior housing and townhomes for first-time homeowners, right here to my left. While construction began on the site last year, the new development is anticipated to be complete in 2022. The senior housing on Broadway will include 77 affordable rental homes for seniors ages 62 and over. There will be a local preference of up to 70%, the maximum allowed by the state.
That's me.
What's that?
62 and over, baby.
Go, Gov, you're in. But the closet's still a little too small. We'll find you a better unit. I thought I said something wrong. You're all laughing. More than a third of these homes will be reserved for households that earn up to 30% of the AMI. This translates to a monthly rent as low as $700 for a one-bedroom unit. The facility here will include amenities such as a community room, a fitness center, on-site management office, laundry, and parking. This building will be shared with the East Boston Neighborhood Health Center, where they will provide on-site services for residents and neighbors alike. This health center will run a PACE program, a program for all-inclusive care for the elderly, administered by Mass Health and Medicare. It will provide our residents, our Everett seniors, with care and support, specialist visits, prescription drug coverage, as well as health and wellness programs. The center will be available to all seniors living in the city of Everett, not just those living in the property. The 6 townhouses, which I'm so happy to be able to get on this project, to fit on this project, will be located right here on Glen Hill Ave. 3 of these townhouses will be reserved for households that earn up to 80% of the AMI. That's the average median income. So residents who earn up to 80% of the average median income, 3 of those will be reserved for them. While the other 3 will be reserved for households that earn up to 120% of the AMI. Affordable home ownership is such an important goal of mine for the city of Everett because it not only allows residents to live with their means, it allows them to build equity in their property. The St. Therese's site will also include a small park open to the residents of this development as well as the rest of the Everett community. The design of this park will incorporate a tribute to St. Therese Church and its past parishioners. While the St. Therese project is our first project in partnership with the neighborhood developers, I am hopeful it will not be our last. The construction of affordable housing remains paramount to ensure that our residents have a place to call home. The neighborhood developers have submitted a proposal for redevelopment of the former Pope John site that the city has purchased. This site is currently slated to include 62 affordable homes for seniors and another 76 affordable homes for families. On behalf of the City of Everett, I would like to thank the Baker Polito administration, the neighborhood developers, Mass Housing and Community Building, Mass Development, East Boston Neighborhood Health Center, as well as our partners in the community for their hard work and unconditional support with this project at St. Therese. Through our joint efforts, I am confident that we will be able to increase affordable housing in the City of Everett. I look forward to gathering upon this project's completion for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. I also want to just point out one thing, that the builder here on site, Brenda Lorenza, woman-owned business, Bald Hill Builders. Brenda, thank you. Hope I was quick enough for you. I know it's getting hot out here, but this is so glad that you're all here today with us to celebrate this historic day. And it's my pleasure and privilege, to be honest with you, and I said this inside the building, to have a governor who gets back to a mayor instantaneously, within minutes, hours. He gets back to you, knows how important it is to get back to you, because he knows that we are the leaders of this community that are his residents in the state. Right? He gets it. He gets it. He supports us. It's wonderful to have someone as a partner like him. So, Governor Baker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank all the folks who are here, especially the folks who are involved in Everett and in local government here, because we've talked a lot over the past few years about what we believe to be the housing crisis here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And when people say to me, well, what kinds of housing do we need more of? My answer is all of it. We need more senior housing. We need more supported housing. We need more workforce housing. We need more family-based housing. We need more housing, period. And we have been building at a rate that's about a third of what you would think of as replacement demand for the better part of 30 years. And that's had a huge impact on both price and availability. And those two things are related. If you don't have a heck of a lot of supply, that just drives price through the moon. And when you drive price through the moon, you place all kinds of people out of the market. And you make it impossible for people to do the things that they might choose to do otherwise if the market was actually working the way it was supposed to. The mayor talked to us as we were walking around this project about the fact that there are a lot of people in Everett, seniors, who would probably like to downsize, but they can't downsize because they want to stay in Everett and there's no place for them to go. It's not ready today, but it'll be ready soon. And he has several other similar kinds of projects that are currently under construction. And this project, in some ways, hits all the bells and whistles that we've talked about as an administration and have worked with our colleagues in the legislature on for the past few years. Everett is a housing choice community, which means they've done a number of the things you need to do to enhance your capacity to actually create more housing. That was made possible in some respects by the legislation that we filed and that the legislature enacted last year, which makes it possible for communities to amp up their capacity to develop new housing. The fact that there's a PACE program here, Manny Lopes and the team at East Boston, you go back, East Boston was sort of the East Coast inventor of PACE. It started out on the West Coast in Oregon, worked its way to the East Coast. East Boston is very much sort of the gold standard on PACE programs. And what I would say about PACE is about helping seniors stay where they are, even as they get older and slightly, and in many cases significantly, more frail. And the beauty of a PACE program, the sound of progress, yeah. The beauty of a PACE program is if you talk to the folks who are involved in PACE programs, they're enormously grateful to be able to stay in their home. They appreciate the fact that there's support available for them so that they can. And in many cases, there are people who, if you actually just did an analysis of their current state of play, they'd be nursing home level of care. But they don't need to be in a nursing home because they have all those supports right there in the community available to them. And this is something East Boston is in many respects the very best at. And to have them as a partner here will be a real asset to this site. You also have home ownership going on here with these 6 townhouses that are coming up the front here. We have a monstrous home ownership proposal in front of the legislature. Home ownership, especially in the communities that have been hardest hit by COVID, is an enormous part of how you create homes, housing security, and opportunity for people, and a chance to build wealth. The way people in America historically have built wealth, the way regular working people have built wealth, is through home ownership. And the fact that we are so laggard as a state in home ownership, especially in communities of color and among people of color, is something we really have a great opportunity here to do something about with this once-in-a-lifetime transformational federal funds. And I hope this is something the legislature will find a way to get done over the course of their debate and discussion about how to put the ARPA money to work. And the final thing I would say is that this project involves Dan Rivera and the gang from Mass Development, Crystal Cornegay and the gang from Mass Housing, Mike Keneally, Secretary of Housing and Economic Development from Housing and Economic Development. All the pieces of the puzzle that we can bring to the table are part of this project, and that's because it is solving and dealing with so many of the issues that writ large are exactly the issues the Commonwealth faces with respect to housing shortages and, frankly, this crisis that we've got to find a way to work our way out of. So we're thrilled to be here today to be as supporters of this, but more importantly, this is exactly the sort of thing that we need to do over and over and over and over and over again over the course of the next 5 to 10 years here in Massachusetts if we really truly want to build a more inclusive and more equitable Commonwealth. This is my final point. The single biggest thing that makes this state so unaffordable for working people is the price and cost of housing. If we don't do something about this issue, we are not taking seriously what it is that we need to do most fundamentally to make this a place where working regular people can afford to plant their roots, make a life, make a living, and build a family, and become part of a community where they have some capacity to actually control their own destiny. So kudos to the mayor and to his team and to the city council and to Bald Hill Developers. What a hilarious way to develop a name. And I really look forward to coming back for the ribbon cutting. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to Mike Keneally.
Thank you, Governor. Great to see you all this morning. It is always wonderful to get out and see new housing and the partnerships that make it possible. And I'd encourage folks to take a look at this sign behind us, because it really shows you how affordable housing gets done around here. It's just it's an incredible team sport involving the state and the city and developers and nonprofits, Mass Housing, Mass Development, so many other partners that come together to make these wonderful projects happen. So it is truly great to be here today to celebrate a great event for the city and for the state. As the governor said, we're in the middle of a housing crisis. We need more of all types of housing everywhere in Massachusetts. This housing crisis affects our households, it affects our workers and their families, it affects our seniors and veterans. We need more of everything. And by the way, we did have a great visit with the mayor this morning, and the mayor understands this. There's about 3,000 housing units, right, permitted now in Everett. So it's a wonderful step forward. But we simply have to do a lot more. And let me say a word about home ownership as well. We got a long way to go on that one. You know, we have among the largest racial home ownership gaps in any state in the country. If you're a white family in Massachusetts, 70% of those own their own home. If you're a non-white family, about half that percentage own their own homes. And here we are in a state, we talk about equity and opportunity a lot, and we have this incredible gap. We have to address that. Now, the good news is we have this great program called Commonwealth Builder, run by Crystal and the team at Mass Housing, that makes projects like this possible. And Commonwealth Builder today is about a $60 million program. I've been saying if you like Commonwealth Builder at $60 million, you should love it at $260 million, because that's what we're trying to do now with the governor's ARPA proposal. So the governor's proposed $1 billion in housing. I'd use $1 billion of the ARPA funds for housing, about half for rental housing, about half for home ownership. We think this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to address a problem that's developed for generations. And we look forward to working with our partners in the legislature to get it done. I think with that, I turn it over to Crystal, our great friend and partner in all things affordable housing, Crystal Cornegay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want it noted that I got here on time today. Could be quite a feat if you know me. Anyway, this is an excellent project. We're very excited about this one because it does represent the best of the administration's ARPA proposal. It's senior rental housing with services, it's home ownership and gateway city communities. One of the things that people don't talk about is we do a lot of rental housing through our typical rounds and supporting affordable rental housing in gateway cities. But as part of developing this program, we realized that there weren't a lot of homeownership opportunities that we supported in gateway cities. And so we are very proud to have put together, under the governor's and the administration's aegis, the Commonwealth Builder program, so we can start to get at that gap. It is appropriate for us to be focusing on different communities, but we consider this an outgrowth of our workforce housing initiative, outgrowth of our work around narrowing the racial homeownership gap, and we look forward to working with many more communities around doing this. And as the Secretary said, we have 260 million reasons why we can get it done. I think it's my job to introduce Dan Rivera. Dan and I are brothers, sisters from another mother. So, so Dan, please come on up.
So being on the job 7 months only, I have paper. I'm not as good as everybody else that's been up here. It's impressive to be here with Governor Baker, Secretary Keneally, who chairs the Board of Directors for Mass Development, Mayor DeMaria, and the legislative delegation and community partners. Just a moment for a used-to-be mayor. It is a very important thing to have good leadership in the mayor's office. And I remember when I first came on being mayor, Mayor DeMaria had been here for a while, so he took a young, chubby kid from the projects under his wing. I still don't dress as sharply as he does, but he did help me get through everything. So thank you so much. I think you get a round of applause for your mayor. For those of you not familiar with what Mass Development is, we are the Commonwealth Development Finance Agency and Land Bank. We help stimulate economic growth through a wide variety of programs. Here in Everett, we were proud to deliver $9.1 million in tax-exempt bonds to help the neighborhood developers build 33 units of affordable rental housing for seniors at this site. I do want to give a shout out. I always like to thank the money to our banking partners, Boston Private Bank, who purchased the bond and made this financing possible, as well as the DACD team, who awarded federal low-income tax credits for the project. It really is, like the governor said, a team project, a team effort. 77 new affordable rental housing, and the litany of different types of housing is going to be here that the mayor just spoke of. Just so to show you that the way to get it done is mixed income, cross-generational, people in the older part of their life, watching the kids in their newer part of their life, hanging out outside, and it's just a really good way to build a community. I got to tell you, many people have talked about the housing crisis, but having been a mayor on a border community and watching your high school classmates go from living in your community to living in New Hampshire, at the rate that they're doing that, it will show you the rate that the problem of housing in Massachusetts is. So we must do more and must do better. That's why I think the proposal to immediately use $1 billion of the Commonwealth's federal aid to support key priorities, including housing, before the legislature, we really do need to get that done. I think that's all I'll say. Thank you so much. It's a great to be part of this team, and my job now is to introduce Everett's great state senator, Assistant Majority Leader, Sal DiDomenico. Sal, a few words?
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So this project, for a little bit of history, is about 5 or 6 years in the making. Before TND was TND, they were CND. They were the Chelsea Neighborhood Developers. And Judith Garcia, City Councilor and now member of the team at TND, knows very well. They did amazing work in the city of Chelsea, transforming a neighborhood into a vibrant community for their residents. And then they moved to Revere. And we said, why aren't you coming to Everett? And sitting down with the mayor and the representative, we got them to come here and look at this community. And work with the mayor and his team, they found this site. This great site to turn into housing in their own community within this building with a healthcare neighborhood center. And we have a shining example of 2 MVPs here. TND and the East Boston Neighborhood Health Clinic. 2 of the best in the entire state at what they do. Coming together in our own community for our residents, not just the people that live in these buildings, but also the residents in this community as a whole. And I want to thank Mass Housing. I want to thank, there's so many people here, the Commonwealth Building Program, which I know you want us to pass. You're convincing me today. Yes, Governor, yes. I was waiting for that. That was a delayed reaction. I was like, Mass Development, our great Secretary Keneally, and our great Mayor, Carl DeMaria. You couldn't get a better team coming together with the governor of our state, and I want to echo what the mayor said. Only governor that I ever, and I'm a Democrat, but someone called me back, honestly. And to have partners like this at the state level and at the community level, the nonprofit world, coming together for the benefit of our community and for so many residents that need housing. We are at a housing crisis in this state, one of the richest states in the entire nation. And we need more housing for our residents, people who want to stay in the city of Everett. 70% of the units here will be dedicated to Everett residents. That is an outstanding number, and I want to thank the mayor and TND for recognizing that. That is a big, big component to this project. And having affordable home ownership program. We see what's happening in our communities. We have many successes in this community. People want to move to Everett. That also increases the value of our properties. And to have an option like this at this site for an affordable home ownership program is a game changer for so many families. This project is not overstating when I overstate this. This is a lifeline for so many people in this community. I hear almost every day, how do I get into this project? How can I get in the lottery? Can you help me with the lottery? No, I cannot. But that just shows you the enthusiasm. It shows you what people are talking about in this community. We need more of these housing projects. And I know the mayor mentioned that there's also a potential project down the road at Pope John, and I hope TND develops that property, because they really got the best in what they do in this business. So I want to thank all of you for being here today. This is a great day for our community, but even better day for the residents who occupy this building in the future. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Senator. Next to speak is State Representative Joseph McGonigal.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and special guests. First, I would like to thank the Neighborhood Development Group and Bald Hill Builders for allowing me to speak before you. It's always great to see the governor here in our city with the secretary. Governor, the last time you were here was about 2 months ago, and we were at Encore. Wasn't that great? And I know what you're thinking, ladies and gentlemen, but don't worry. The governor and I were not throwing dice and playing craps, all right? We were invited from the mayor and his administration to open up our second vaccine clinic right here in the city of Everett. And I do want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for doing that, all right? But I am thrilled that we can all gather to mark the progress on what I believe is a game changer in the city of Everett for our people. And from my years as vice chairman on the housing committee, I do understand what great need there is for accessible and housing that's affordable, and especially for our seniors in the Commonwealth. And, you know, even when seniors find housing, it's difficult because sometimes they end up miles away from their family and loved ones. But I do see this project as a win-win, where we can preserve Everett history while also providing safe homes for our neighbors. And furthermore, coming out of this pandemic, we can see how important it is to have a safe and comfortable living space. And I am thrilled with the progress that I've seen today. And I look forward, and I'm happy to look forward to speak to my constituents about their questions almost every day, finding out what's going on in this project. But great job. So I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to coming back in 2022 for the grand opening. Thank you, everyone.
To speak next, from East Boston Neighborhood Health Center, Manny Lopes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep my remarks brief because the construction will almost be complete if, by the time all of us get done speaking here. But just a huge thank you to the governor. Thank you for your friendship and partnership the last, 2 decades, and I'll get to that story in a minute, has just been incredible. Feels like 2 decades. Yeah, the TND, Secretary, Mayor, and Mass Development, Dan Rivera, Commonwealth Builders, and Bald Hill. Thank you again for all of you being here today. Thank you for the partnership. I have 2 stories to share with you on projects like this and how we make projects like this actually happen. It's not by accident. The first one is a visit to the mayor's office, Carlo Di Maria. We came to see the mayor because at East Boston Neighborhood Health Center, we saw a growing number of Everett residents coming to us for health care. And we believe that health care, of course, is a right, not a privilege, that should be delivered in the community. So we said, Mr. Mayor, we want to come into the community. The mayor picked up the phone, called senator and state representative to the table and said, we have to make sure that East Boston Neighborhood Health Center and their PACE program gets here in the community. And the first thing they said to me was, you need to meet TND because they are the group that's going to help make that happen. And that's how this project got started. So again, thank you, Senator, State Representative, and the Mayor for that partnership, because it is a public-private partnership in terms of how we get things going. The second story I'm going to share with you, and this goes back, a little way back, before the governor had gray hair, when he was just a little bit younger, when he was Secretary of Health and Human Services. And our founding father, Jim Taylor, and Jack Craddock, our former CEO, both mentors of mine, came back from a trip to the West Coast, as the governor had described, and saw this unbelievable program called PACE, Program of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly. And they said, Governor, or Secretary at the time, we need PACE in Massachusetts, and we think we could do it well. We can attach it to housing. Think about that. When we talk about social determinants of health, the things that are really important to keep people healthy, aging in place and in the community, housing is one of the key to that success. Secretary Baker said, I'm all in. Whatever support you need, attach it to housing. We did that. We brought it to Massachusetts. And not only did we bring it to Massachusetts, he helped support us expand within Massachusetts this valuable program. So thank you again, Governor, for that decades-long partnership. So again, we're excited to be here. This, again, is a team effort. I just want to recognize the East Boston Neighborhood Health Center team and the Neighborhood PACE team. Not going to go through names, but there are a lot of individuals in the background here who are doing tremendous amount of work, including, I know we're not here to talk about COVID or the vaccines, but just one stat for you that we feel really proud of. 95% of the people involved in PACE have been vaccinated. 95%, and that's a team effort. So thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next year for the ribbon cutting.
And to end the speaking program would be from the neighborhood developers, Steve Lafayette. I butchered that?
That's fine.
How you say it?
Lothario.
Lafayette. I'm making you Italian, man.
No problem. Well, unfortunately, Raphael isn't feeling well this morning, but I have the honor and pleasure of offering his remarks. I definitely need paper. This is not my normal gig. Well, I want to start by thanking the mayor, Governor Baker, Secretary Keneally, Senator DiDomenico, Representative McGonigal, the city councilors who came out today, City Councilor Martins, City Councilor McLaughlin, DiPiero, and DeFlorio. Also, Crystal, Dan, Mass Housing, Mass Development, and of course, East Boston Neighborhood Health Center, Manny, and your team. What an honor it is to share this historic moment with you. As Bald Hill builders, the rest of the construction workers, including some Everett residents, are continuing to work on the structures that will soon be 77 beautiful apartments for seniors, 6 townhomes, and the health center we've heard about. I refer to this moment as historic because this may be the first project in the Commonwealth designated to have the following triple impact: allowing people to age in place. By now, we've literally built the foundation to ensure seniors can continue to call Everett home. Linking home and health. We are prioritizing our residents' health and well-being by constructing a medical facility on the ground floor of their building. And last but not least, closing the racial wealth gap. We're taking a small step in the right direction by offering 6 families in a community of color the opportunity to become homeowners. All of this would not be possible without all of you. The mayor, the city, the leadership of the Baker-Polito administration. It's really a true partnership, and it doesn't happen without all of us working together. After a long time, through the Commonwealth Builder program, funding for affordable homeownership is available again, and we're really excited about that. The Commonwealth Builder program is designed to address a history of exclusion by expanding homeownership opportunities in gateway communities just like Everett. Redlining, in the past, barred Black people from becoming homeowners. Immigrants in Everett had a similar experience. The effects of these discriminatory housing practices can still be seen and felt today. Currently, over 60% of residents in Everett are renters. By comparison, Newton, 72% of residents are homeowners. Unfortunately, we can't go back in time to right this wrong, but today we are beginning to create a new future. Together, all of us assembled here have collectively devised a plan to help families build wealth and seniors age in place right here in Everett. I thank you all for your commitment to affordable housing, quality health care, and ending the racial wealth gap. Because this will change the lives of many people. So thank you all for coming out today. We're really excited to have you here. We're really excited to welcome you back again next year for the ribbon cutting. And I believe the governor will now take some questions.
The mayor's event, so I think we should start with any questions for the mayor.
Mayor, I think I know the answer to this, but why do you want to see the governor get some of that ARPA money to put more money into his housing agenda so projects like this can take shape?
You gave you the answer. So projects like this can take shape. So, I mean,
You have ideas, though. You have a laundry list.
oh, I have a huge, a very long laundry list, yes. And it goes hand in hand with transportation, you know. The better transportation amenities that we have in the city of Everett, and we have a potential, if even talking electrification, the commuter rail, or the BRT system being operated on Rutherford Ave, you can unlock so much potential in the city of Everett to build so much more housing. You don't need any cars to drive. You can use bike lanes. I mean, you want to create housing affordability. It's supply and demand. You want to be able to build more housing. It's untying parking from housing, getting rid of the cars, but you have to provide good public transportation amenities. You provide that, we can build all the housing the Commonwealth needs, bring all the types of housing, luxury, affordable, workforce, low income, and that would bring so many people with additional income in their pocket to spend on the ground levels, if it's the old-time grocery stores again, or whatever it may be. You know, we won't have to rely on Amazon Prime or the big box stores. We can bring back business to small business owners who can actually feed their family. It's a holistic approach to government, and the governor gets it, the secretary gets it, and those funds should be earmarked for cities like Everett, gateway communities, communities of color, to help their residents. So, you know, yeah.
On the housing choices change, the governor mentioned that housing choices community. Are you taking advantage of that? Have there been any close votes, any majority votes that have led to new housing projects?
No, I mean, I think anytime we brought a project before the city council, they've always been very receptive to building. I mean, of course, anytime you build housing structures, people, they think housing structures cause more traffic and congestion. And when we talk about transportation demand ordinances and taking parking away from housing, they somewhat try. They understand it. They get it. But it's education, and we continue to try to educate our residents to kind of let them see the plan, and I think they're getting it.
You expect to take advantage of that majority
Yes.
rather than two-thirds down the road?
Yes. Any other questions? No. Governor? Governor, good.
So the one PS I would put on the mayor's comments is he was one of the first people after we took office to talk to us about doing a bus lane, and there was a tremendous amount of public discussion back and forth about whether doing a rapid bus lane was a good idea or a bad idea. I mean, if you just followed the public discussion on it, it was clearly a close call. He felt it wasn't a close call. He eventually figured out how to get it done. We worked with him to make it happen, and I would argue that the overwhelming sentiment at this point is that that was a really good thing for everybody. Correct?
Yes, yes.
So part of this is about public discourse and a public process, but part of it's also recognizing and understanding that everything can't always stay the way it always was. If we stay there on that particular one, we will end up falling farther and farther behind. And in some respects, that's been exactly why we're where we are on a lot of this housing stuff.
Governor, we've been hearing a lot from housing advocates about the 19,000 pending eviction cases for non-payment right now, driven obviously in large part because of inability to pay and but also because of general unaffordability of housing. How will more homeownership opportunities tie into that and prevent situations like that from happening?
Well, first of all, we do have one of the more robust eviction diversion programs in the country, which we've been running since last fall when the state's eviction moratorium expired. And that made it possible for us to take a lot of the federal assets that have been made available through federal legislation and literally just put it toward that particular program. And we have seen fewer notices to quit and far fewer sort of folks coming into the front door of the emergency assistance program than we've seen at any time in the even pre-pandemic. So I think we're pretty well positioned to make sure we help people deal with some of these issues and consequences. I think the big issue around home ownership and the reason why this is such an important program, first of all, there's a long, sad, and lousy history in many communities around the country where people of color were literally just zoned out or categorized out or blocked out of opportunities to participate in federal programs that made it possible for people to buy a home and build wealth. And that has been, in many respects, the way that works here in the U.S. We are trying to deal with that issue and the incredible disparity that it's created as part of our ARPA proposal before the legislature. But and part of the reason why I keep talking about the urgency of this, what is going on right now with housing in sort of almost any community in Massachusetts? The price is going up. Why is the price going up? Because people during the pandemic discovered their home, or a home, once again, and people who are living in apartments suddenly decided they wanted to live in a home. People who lived in a home of a certain kind wanted to live in another one. And so all over Massachusetts, including in communities like this one, there's a tremendous amount of push coming on the housing front, which is driving up the price of the housing that's available. The single biggest way you give people some degree of sort of capacity to own and make decisions about their own lives and their own home is if they actually own it. I worry terribly that one of the things that's going to happen that is happening right now and is going to get worse in the weeks and months ahead is a whole bunch of people who weathered the pandemic, did the best they could to pay their rent, did everything they could to stay current, are going to find themselves forced out of the place they live because of the rising value of property in so many neighborhoods and communities around the Commonwealth. If they own, the call that's associated with that is one in which they have to be a participant, and in many cases, the most important participant. So I'm very concerned that if we just sort of let this drift for months and months and months, a lot of people who might have otherwise been able to take advantage of a home ownership program to stay where they are and to continue to be part of the community that they have paid their rent in for years might be lost. And that is a big part of why I think this needs to happen now.
Last question.
Can I ask you about the Green Line accident?
Yeah.
About that. Any update on that, or any more injuries, or are you looking at any kind of changes? Or
Well, we're spending a lot of time with the NTSB on which, when there's an incident like that, the the NTSB, the Federal Transportation Board, becomes the sort of primary investigator, and what we've mostly been doing is working with them. We fully expect that they will generate both preliminary reports to our team and then ultimately a final report, and we'll work to move on the things that they recommend, which has typically been the way we've dealt with this historically. I can tell you this, that I talked to Secretary Tessler that night, and several times over the weekend, just to check in on the state of the people who were taken to the hospital, and thankfully everybody there seems to be okay. But I'm really anxious to find out exactly what happened, because this could have been a far more significant incident than it was, given the estimates that are out there about how fast that train was traveling when it hit the other train.
Is there an internal NBTA investigation or just?
They're going to work pretty closely with the NTSB, because at the end of the day, the NTSB is going to be the final word on this. It's actually a lot like the natural gas explosion that we dealt with up in Lawrence, where, in the end, states have a role to play, municipalities have a role to play, and authority like the T has a role to play, but fundamentally, these types of incidents, the investigation is driven and owned by the Federal Oversight Agency, which is not a bad thing in some respects.
Yeah, do you expect to name a board?
Yeah, soon.
Timeline for that?
We just got the legislation last week. We weren't exactly sure. I mean, there was a very there was a pretty significant difference between the House and the Senate around both numbers and criteria associated with the people who would be named to the board. I think, I really appreciate the House and the Senate coming to terms on that, because it's obviously an important issue for us. But I think you can expect that sometime between now and, I hate putting a date on this because I might get it wrong, I would just say sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks. How's that? We'll probably put a team together and make our appointments. I think there are also 2 appointments, one of which is made by the Municipal Advisory Board, and I think there's another one that's 3 candidates we need to get from the AFL-CIO, of which we picked 1. So the other appointments, I think, belong to us. We'll work as quickly as we can to get them in place. We think the board was our idea in the first place back in the spring of 2015. We believe the board created a tremendous amount of value. I share some of the concerns the safety review panel raised about the time that was associated with preparing for and working with and managing through each board meeting, which took time away from management. I thought the safety panel's recommendation, you need to reduce the number of meetings, was the right one. The legislature agreed, and I think going forward, it's going to be important for us to put people there who have some of the skills that we believe are critical, and experience that are critical to sort of oversight of the operation, and can speak to and represent the folks that ride the system.
Thanks, everybody. Funding the stuff like past September, given the spread of the Delta variant.
No, we're going to, look, we've always said that the work we do on both vaccines and on testing are going to be driven to some extent by the facts on the ground, and I think you're likely to see us continue to operate in a pretty significant way, both the vaccine programming and the testing programming, for as long as we need to successfully provide the access to those services that people around the Commonwealth need.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. And congratulations again to Everett.